The following program on News Talk 1340, KROC-AM and 96.9 FM is sponsored and paid for by Robin Gwaltney, Gwaltney Group-RE Results. Good morning and welcome, Robin. You brought along somebody this week we haven't met yet.
Yeah, of course. You know, we're introducing the team members, right? So I figured time for everybody to meet Scott, because the Gwaltney Group isn't just one Gwaltney. Scott is actually my husband, and sometimes we go to a listing appointment together, and we'll get all the way through the listing appointment before the clients figure out, oh, is this your husband?
Well, morning,
That does
Scott.
happen. Good morning.
What do I need to know? How long is, well, okay, I'm going to start from the beginning. How long have you guys been married?
Oh,
Let's let Scott answer that.
That's a trick question.
Oh, darn it.
Wow. 2000, let's see, 1987.
1985.
85. I was close.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
35. We'll be married 35 years in February.
1 minute into the program, and I already have
I'm
you
already
in
in
trouble.
trouble. I'm already digging a hole.
You're getting a feel for how this whole Gwaltney Group thing rolls.
All this pressure.
Okay, how long have you two been in the real estate business together?
Man, let's see, 20 years. 20 years, a little over 20 years, actually. So
Scott actually got his real estate license before me. I
did.
followed him.
I did. And once I got that, Robin seen how well I was doing, and she thought, yeah, well, if you could do that good, I think I could do better. So she joined us.
So, going back in history, we've covered this a little bit in a past show, but I'm going to let you cover it again. What were you both doing before the real estate business?
I was working for a malting company down in Winona.
And I was
So,
at Mayo.
Yeah.
I put 20 years at Mayo in my first career before real estate. And now I'm coming up on 20 years in real estate. I'm feeling like I'm getting
And this little
old.
Rochester Better Chance thing was happening too.
And that was a
Same time.
volunteer thing,
Yeah.
but definitely was
Wow.
a big part of our life.
Without a doubt. Yeah.
Almost a full-time job for a volunteer thing.
Correct. That was a big change for Scott, because Scott grew up with, his mom, his dad, and one brother. They literally had 4 chairs in their house. I remember the first time they invited me over for dinner.
That's a true story.
She had to send her husband downtown to get a chair from her beauty shop. And I'm thinking, who has 4 chairs when they have 4 people? And I come from a family where there's just always a party and always a gathering, and the more the merrier. So the Rochester Better Chance house for me was pretty easy. I was used to that. For Scott, it was a much bigger adjustment, but he actually adapted quite well.
I think I did. Stuck it out for 17 years.
Wow.
So, yeah. It was a good time.
17 years of teenage boys coming and going in your house.
So I had 8 kids for 17 years. So it's like, yeah.
And most
Great.
of that time, 8 teenagers
Yeah.
at a time. So, yeah.
And it was a great time, though. We had some great memories and some great kids.
I tell everybody that's what conditioned us to be such successful real estate agents, because in real estate, you have to go with the flow, change your plans at the last minute. One of you is going off one direction while the other is running the other direction. And that's exactly what we did during that time. So it was perfect, boot camp.
It was, yeah.
So you got into the real estate business first.
Yeah, I was in 2 years before Robin joined me, and it was an interesting thing because I thought, well, I can't be a salesperson. That's not my MO, But as I started to do it, I thought, it's all about the service, the honesty, and the integrity, and take care of your customer, and the rest will take care of itself. So that's what I did for the first 2 years, and then Robin joined me doing a little marketing for me. And then she thought, I think I could probably leave Mayo now, and we can probably make a go of it. And we haven't looked back.
No, it was definitely one of the best decisions we've ever made in our life, because people will say to us all the time, Andy, do you guys not get sick of each other? I mean, you're together 24/7. You work together, you live together, you vacation together. And I think, we are married, so we obviously do like each other. And I'm not going to lie, there are days where I just have to take a break, or he just has to take a break. And we say, you know what, I've got something I got to do. And you can feel it. We try really hard to communicate well and never create tension, because as you can imagine, we're running a team of 20 some people now, and if we had tension between us because we're under each other's skin, that would not be good for the atmosphere at the team. So they all laugh because we just tell it like it is, and we communicate pretty openly, and to be honest, we are each other's best friends and we get along pretty darn well and we have a lot of fun together. So being able to work together, it's imperative. I say I could never work these hours. I could not go to work 7 days a week and work 10 to 12 hours if my husband wasn't by my side doing it too, because I would miss him.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, all the time with the Rochester Better Chance program, she was, when I was doing the real estate, and she couldn't understand why I was leaving at 6 in the evening during dinner to go show houses and those kind of things. So as she learned the business, she understood that, yeah, this is a lifestyle. It truly is. So that's what it was.
I can imagine that aspect of it, of it's different times of the day and the flexibility that you've spoken about before with the community involvement part of it, is that gives you the chance to have that alone time or separate time.
Yes, exactly. And so, he belongs to organizations that I don't, and I belong to organizations that he doesn't. And it's, he has to go to this meeting or that meeting, or he'll go to a golf tournament to raise money for something so, I mean, it's not like we're joined at the hip. We do get to spend a lot of time together, and we think of that as a blessing. Well,
I try to figure out the different roles of the team aspect of it.
I'm clearly in charge, Andy.
Okay.
If you haven't figured this out, I'm kidding. I am the team lead. Scott's always more the silent partner. So, I mean, he and I talk everything over. It's not like I call the shots and make the decisions. Everything that we do for this team, we always talk about it and we decide together. It's just that when you have a team, it's like any other structure, you have a team lead.
Sure.
I think that our team members certainly see Scott and I as the joint team lead. I mean, they respect us evenly, and they feel just as comfortable going to Scott with an idea, a suggestion, a concern as they would me.
Yes, that's true.
Is there any part of the mission, or I guess any specific role that you kind of take on, Scott, that's kind of more of your niche within the organization?
I do a little more of the commercial side for our group. So I've done some leasing and some selling of businesses and buildings, but mostly Robin and I are so busy that she literally can't drive anywhere. She's on the phone, pretty much every minute of the day. And so, with the new laws changing, there's not a lot of talking on the phone anymore. So I get her to where she needs to go. We discuss a lot of things, things that are happening with our group, plus things that are happening with our listings. So we bounce a lot of stuff off each other, and that works very well.
It's nice for me because if I had to, you've seen my schedules, and a lot of times I go from an 8 o'clock appointment to a 9 o'clock to a 10 o'clock to an 11 o'clock. I mean, it's just on the hour. And if I had to just get in my car and go do that, I would not have time in between appointments to check the emails, read the text, return the phone calls. So then it would mean another 4 to 6 hours at the end of my day, just returning all of those messages, where instead, when I'm leaving one listing appointment headed to the next, if Scott's driving, which is amazing, I can answer those text messages, answer those emails, return those phone calls. So we've got a pretty good gig.
The car is your office.
Yeah, the car, everything is your office.
Much,
when you're in real estate, no matter where you are, it's the office, which can be definitely a good thing, because you can be, in a boat on a lake and taking phone calls, or, doing something for a client. So that's a pro for sure.
Yeah, I only have one complaint: is she gets all her business done while I'm driving, and then after I'm done driving, I have to do mine.
But you get to drive
well.
too.
I do.
See that?
I do.
And sometimes if I go to a listing appointment or I have to go meet with somebody, he'll stay in the car and do his stuff while I'm in showing houses, whatever. So we've got a pretty good system.
Kind of like this radio station, normally the time she's in here doing her radio spot, I'm outside doing my thing, calling the phone.
You're in the office.
I'm in my office. Yeah.
Exactly.
With the air conditioning running. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll be back with the Gwaltneys. Both Robin and Scott with us this morning. News Talk 1340 KROC-AM and 96.9 FM. Good morning and welcome back. I'm Andy Brownhill. News Talk 1340 KROC-AM and 96.9 FM. We're with Robin Gwaltney and Scott Gwaltney this morning. Learned a little bit about how this all works as a husband-wife team with the Gwaltney Group over at Remax Results. And one thing that you mentioned, Scott, in the when we were speaking before, is you kind of delve into the commercial real estate business. It's part of the teamwork, and that's kind of a totally different animal
It is.
than the residential side, isn't it?
It is different. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. But I enjoy that end of the that part of the business. I think I do have my handful of investors that do leasing and buying of buildings and looking for opportunities to build.
Is it similar to the residential side that you have a relatively small number of properties that are available, or is it more fluid?
Well, it's happening. You're seeing a lot of changes in some of the bigger buildings downtown, and a lot of vacancy spaces.
Oh, that's
for
true.
lease.
Yeah.
But it's different. It really is. It's I would say more towards the I don't know what I don't know.
Definitely more inventory, I think,
Yeah,
for
I think
commercial.
that's true. Lots of inventory. I mean, more open space. Just because it's a little more spendy. So
And the customers, are you dealing with, I don't know, myself, and I think, gosh, I want to open up a storefront and I need 10,000 square feet, or, I mean, what kind of customers do you deal with?
all different kinds. It's like homes. There's a price spot for everybody in investing. Everything from smaller rental homes to actually looking for spots for business. Purchasing a building to be the investor, just be the owner of the building, and then have somebody lease the space out for you. So it's interesting. It's very interesting. A lot of people think that people that are in buildings own them.
Right.
Just because they're in it, they think they own the building. But 9 times out of 10, somebody else owns
It's
the
a
building.
lease arrangement.
Exactly.
I kind of want to be the guy who is the owner and doing that.
So do a lot of
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, they might be Mayo Clinic physicians and they want to make an investment. So they look at a company that they feel like is here to stay a while. And they do want to own the building and collect the rent. I mean,
Right.
that's a smart way to be a commercial investor for sure.
I don't even know where to start. I mean, the space itself, is it just empty space? I mean, or do you,
Yeah, a lot of times it's empty space. It's just a shell, and then you work the improvements into your lease, those kind of things, where the landlord will say, okay, well, it's cost me so much a square foot to finish this out. We'll tack that onto the lease,
oh, okay.
add it in, and then you figure out what you got into it per square foot and those kind of things. So
And so it's a square footage
business, it is. Yep.
and you look at it not around the residential side. So many other aspects come
Oh,
into
so
play.
many other aspects, yeah. And of course, like what I thought was crazy is that Scott would sell, well, not just Scott, anybody in commercial real estate will sell a business. So let's just say you have a successful business that maybe you're a auto body place, okay? And you don't even own the building you're in. So you're going to stop leasing, but you don't want your business just to go away and leave you with nothing. So you can then sell your business that you've created, your clientele, your customer base, your brand,
Right.
and you can sell
there's a
that
value.
to somebody else.
There's a value on that.
Isn't that crazy?
It was. Once again, I'm going to use the phrase. I don't even know where to start. How do you connect the person who has that business that they built to the person who would buy that business and continue on with that business?
Well, a lot of people in the commercial industry have a lot of people that they're working for, and they're looking for certain ideas, and they're looking for things that they would do. So they'll come across a business that wants to sell, and they'll immediately call a few of their investors and say, "Hey, I've got this opportunity," and that's honestly how it works. It's a great network.
So somebody knows somebody who knows how to run that type of business.
Especially in
You can plug
Rochester.
together.
In Rochester, such
In
a small
Rochester,
town.
our commercial real estate, and trust me, I'm no expert because I don't even dabble in commercial real estate, but it's very much a close network. And like if Scott gets somebody who calls in and says, "Hey Scott, this is what I'm looking for," he's got a handful of guys that he will automatically call, and he can find what they're looking for. It's like it's just very closed, a little
Yeah.
closed network.
And it's opened up a lot since I first started, but it's still a handful of people that do the business.
Is there a limited number of owners of property in town? I mean, you always hear people say, "Oh, Mill Clinic owns the whole town. I mean, obviously, I know that's not true.
Right.
But is
Right.
it, you know,
Well, it's not far from the truth. But yeah, they own their fair share for sure.
but is it when you're dealing with these larger commercial spaces, is it a relatively few number of owners that you deal with, or is it a lot of them?
It's becoming popular.
Yeah, it's very popular. You'd be surprised how many different LLCs or S corps that own certain things, and it's usually a group of friends could possibly put the deals together. Where they get 3 or 4 people, they decide, hey, let's buy this thing, and then they put their LLC together, and then they talk to the bank and figure out where they what kind of purchase price they want to look for, and that's what we do.
Is that something you can help them with?
I can definitely do that. Yeah.
Dealing with that aspect of it,
Yeah.
to identify, I guess, how much you can afford.
Exactly.
And it's really thinking outside the box. Residential real estate, sure, we use a little creativity, but it's pretty straightforward. And with commercial, it's completely different animal. What's nice for Scott is that as far as the Gwaltney Group goes, 24 real estate agents, 22, it's so hard. I can't keep track of changes, but whatever it is, everyone that gets contacted by a client that says, do you do commercial real estate? They say, you know what, that's not my thing, but Scott on our team does. So, so we've talked, you and I have talked, Andy, about how we've got some people that specialize in first-time home buyers and some people that specialize in working with elderly clients. And Scott definitely specializes in commercial. Doesn't mean that that's all he does, but he definitely does do that.
You've got the contacts.
Exactly. And I'm on the sounding board for the rest of the team. Whatever they need, I'll help them. They'll hand it over to me, and I'll help them walk through that. And if they want to learn, I teach them. If they just want to pass it on to me and take care of their client for them, I'll do that too. So
we've talked about things that make a home attractive to a buyer, or is there things in commercial real estate that make a property more attractive than another property?
Just basically income. I mean,
the cap rate. What they can. How much money can they make?
How much money can I? How much do I pay for this building, and how much net operating income's coming off of it, and it's a math thing. That's the cool thing about the commercial side of it. It's not so much touchy feely. It's all about
business.
The deal.
Are there amenities with a property that make it?
Location is probably key.
Yeah, location I would say probably, but not much, because you can take a building and change it completely for another user. So,
Andy, do you know where our Remax office is?
Yes.
Okay, so that area out there by Costco, wow, has that blown up?
Oh my gosh!
I mean, that has been
every time I drive by out there,
it has been such a hot property for commercial real estate, and it's so nice when there actually is raw land and they can put up exactly what they're looking for. They don't always have that convenience. Sometimes you have to take an existing space and make it into what you want it to be.
Oh, yeah. Well, plus it takes time to build a new structure, the permitting and all the things you have to go through.
Right, and then there's people that like to do that, take that process, build that out, and then sell it. Get it all full of the people leasing the building or the one tenant that's in it, and say, okay, I've built this, I've got a tenant, a long-term tenant, now I've got something to sell here, and sell it off to an investor.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, because it's not just a building they're selling, they're also selling guaranteed rent for the next 5 years or guaranteed rent for the next, they fill it up first.
Well, we already have to take a break. We can talk more about this, but we'll be talking to the Gwaltneys. Robin Gwaltney and Scott Gwaltney with us this morning on News Talk 1340 KROC-AM and 96.9 FM. Good morning and welcome back. Andy Brownell, News Talk 1340 KROC-AM 96.9 FM, along with Robin Gwaltney and Scott Gwaltney. And gosh, we're talking about, I guess what we're talking about is investment real estate.
Exactly.
It's a little bit different topic for us. We've been talking about.
Yeah, you're not going to talk a whole lot in depth to me about that. But I mean, investing, sure. But
she's being modest.
Commercial,
on the commercial
real estate.
side, what we were talking about earlier, that's really people are buying these commercial properties as an investment, a way to grow wealth.
Yes. Yep. And tax advantages, 1031 exchanges to be able to roll things over.
Somebody who doesn't know what
well, and that's just deferring your taxes and rolling it into another building, and that's a great way to buy something and offset your taxes. And I'm not a lawyer or anything,
tax accountant,
but a tax accountant. But if you consult them and talk to your tax accountant about a 1031, they can educate you, and I can educate you a little bit to understand how it works. So
The basic premise is that
yeah,
the
exactly.
capital gains that you would have made by selling it,
You can just roll it into your next
you
And
know,
not
investment.
pay the taxes at
Yep.
this point.
have to
Exactly, just
defer it
defer 'em.
until,
Yep.
and you just keep growing your investment, in other words.
Exactly.
Wow.
And there's still plenty of opportunity out there for people to start off, because it's definitely used. This town's growing so much. I mean, you can see it growing, and there's still a lot of opportunity out there for
Yeah.
people.
Week to week, you can see the growth.
It's exciting, though. It's really exciting because, we talked a little bit off air about how we remember when 37th Street was the north boundary of Rochester, and it seems like, okay, now it's all done, but it's not. It's not done. It's just going to keep going.
Every
and
projection you see is the growth is going to accelerate,
yeah.
not even plateau.
So when we have, if you think about the ingredients, right? We live in a highly successful community when you talk about the average level of education and the average income compared to everywhere else in the state. Rochester ranks quite high. So we've got educated, wealthy people who live and work here, and then we have investment opportunities popping up every day. What a great combination, right? We've got opportunities, and then we've got people who are in the position to take advantage of those opportunities, and it just continues to make it, more successful and grow even more. And
it's always, okay, in my 5+ decades, it's always been hammered into my head. Real estate, invest in real estate.
It's a very safe investment.
Your home is an
I agree.
investment,
Yes,
and commercial.
is an investment.
We talked about just a little bit ago, you were describing scenarios where somebody packages together a building with the tenants already in place with signed leases,
Exactly.
and then
They've created equity, and they've created something that is now worth much more than it was when they bought it, because they've put those tenants in, they've built it out, they've signed those leases. And so now when they sell it to you and you just want to own the building and collect the rents, you're making a pretty safe investment.
are those rents? In essence, they're paying off the loan
Correct. Yeah.
for your investment.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah,
exactly. I have a feeling you're getting a call
Light
from
bulbs
Andy.
are-
You're going to become his new best friend now.
Nice.
Darn it!
Well,
I'm
for a person to want to get into this sort of thing, is it for everybody?
No, it's not. It's not for everybody. But if you love the real estate market and you've always wanted to invest in something, there's plenty of ways to do it.
But I will tell you,
Go ahead.
I'm going to interrupt because I think a lot of people feel like you can't become a real estate investor unless you're some mad wealthy guy.
Sure,
Right.
that's the perception.
And that
true.
is not true. A lot of times people pool their funds. Recently, Scott and a couple of partners pooled funds and bought some land and are in the process of building some multi-unit buildings on it. Okay. And if you would have told me even 10 years ago that, someday you're going to start buying and building condos, I'd have been like, yeah, no, that's not something we're going to do. But the more you learn about it and the more you understand it and the more you grasp the Rochester market, you realize that it is really in reach for a whole lot more people than you might imagine. It's not just those few wealthy family names that we all know here in Rochester. There are a lot of people that work at Mayo Clinic as a physician and nobody would ever even know that they own businesses. And it's not like you can even look it up and see, because as Scott mentioned, people do it under LLCs and under partnerships. So we don't necessarily know who owns all the buildings that sit around, but it's not all Mayo Clinic.
Let's face it, they all started somewhere. It's
Right.
like anything else. Everybody started at the ground and worked their way up. They started with their first small investment, and then they worked. After a few years, they roll it into a 1031 exchange and buy a building.
The
that's a
bigger
little
building,
Yeah.
and then the bigger building.
Work your way up, just like the residential. Start with
It's
your
the
starter
American-
home,
it's the
and
American
it's
dream.
the American
It is.
dream.
It is.
And it's fun to be a part of it.
It's fascinating. It really is. The opportunities are out there, but we've been talking commercial, but those opportunities also exist on the residential side
They
as well.
absolutely do. And we have a lot of clients that buy residential homes to fix them up and sell them for more, or own them as rentals for a few years and then sell them, or, buy them now knowing that their kids will want them someday. So people will see a good deal and they know that's a safe investment. I'm going to make more money buying that house than I am putting my money in a bank account where
For
they
the 0.25%.
Exactly. So as we talk about these interest rates being great for borrowers, they're not necessarily awesome for people who have money sitting in the bank. Can't go both ways, right?
Well, that's also, you know, in the greater scheme of things, is beneficial to the community as well, because that investment
Locally
in
owned.
infrastructure
Yes.
Correct.
provides
Nothing
jobs
better.
and everything
Nothing better
else
than-
too.
And that's why
locally owned.
Rochester and the surrounding communities, it's such a special place to live. We're so lucky.
Wow. This
So
has
lucky.
been a very, very interesting program this morning.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's just a tip of the iceberg of that
So,
commercial business,
yeah.
but it's it's a good time.
So if you're catching just the tail end of this, or if you wish to catch any of the programs with Robin Gwaltney, Gwaltney Group Remax results, be sure to go to KROCnews.com and just click on the local podcast link on the trending bar, and they're all there. And of course, we're here Saturday mornings as well. Robin and Scott, if somebody of this has piqued their interest, how do they get a hold of you to talk about just straight residential transactions or even investment transactions?
Well, if you want to talk about commercial and investment, call Scott. His cell phone is 507-269-4123. But in all reality, you can reach out to any member of the Gwaltney Group for any of your real estate needs, and we will definitely make sure that the right contact within our group gets back to you.
Very good. Thanks so much. Nice to meet you, Scott.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
All right, Robin, until next time.
Awesome. Nice to see you, Andy.
News Talk 1340, KROC-AM at 96.9 FM.